Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, historical neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted that you are joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Amazon Music, CastBox, Player FM, Audible. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We have some super fun guests for you today. Returning to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate the Picasso Curse, his new middle grade novel, Dan Gutman. Dan Gutman is here. This is a fantastic and real fun conversation. And our second guest is Kimberly Tso. She is here to celebrate Tic Tac Toe Chicken, and she is an absolute delight. You are going to love meeting these two wonderful authors. Before we invite our guests into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker.
Have you outgrown your health insurance plan or just not happy with what you're paying for? The number one reason we all change our health insurance is price. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Would you like to have better coverage at a better rate or at little or no cost to you? Your life needs are always changing, but have you done anything to improve your health insurance for you and your family? Health insurance laws and coverage are always changing and getting better. It's impossible to do all the research yourself, but now it's all done for you for free. So regardless of your age or medical condition, take a few minutes right now and find out if you can save money or even qualify for zero-cost health insurance in your state. Call now.
Paid for by Cheaper Health Insurance. 800-932-1656. 800-932-1656. 800-932-1656. That's 800-932-1656.
Hey, my friends, you know one of my favorite parts of the day is story time. There's just something magical about snuggling up with your kids, opening a great book, and escaping into an adventure together. And let me tell you, that moment becomes even more magical when you're curled up in the softest, coziest bedding you've ever felt. That's why I'm so excited that CozyEarth.com is supporting Reading with Your Kids. Their bamboo sheets, comforters, and pajamas are unbelievably soft, naturally breathable, and temperature regulating, which means no more sweaty nights or chilly toes. Right now, Cozy Earth is offering Reading with Your Kids listeners an unbelievable and exclusive 41% off their entire site. That's right, you heard me right, 41% off. So go ahead, create your own cozy reading nook, wrap yourself and your kids up in something comfy, grab your favorite bedtime book, and turn story time into the best part of your day. Head on over to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code READ at checkout to save 41%. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code READ. Joining us right now from New York City, our guest is here today to celebrate his new middle grade book. It's called The Picasso Curse. Please welcome back to Reading with Your Kids, Dan Gutman. Dan, how are you?
I'm good, Jed. Thanks for having me back. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. We've had such a great time chatting the couple of times that you've been on in the past. I love you have a great sense of humor, and I love the stories that you're creating for young kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the last time I was here, we were talking about My Weird School, which is my bread and butter. It's what most people know me by. But that's not all I do. I write for older kids too, and I'm really appreciative that you would allow me to come back and talk about this new book, because I'm really excited about it.
Oh, I'm happy to tell us about the Picasso Curse.
Yeah, well, Jed, I had these two ideas knocking around in my head for years. And the first one was that in 1911, and many people know this, in 1911, the Mona Lisa, the most famous painting in the world, was stolen from the Louvre Museum in Paris and was missing for 2 years. Okay? A lot of people know that happened. What most people don't know, and this was the second thought knocking around in my head, was that one of the prime suspects of the theft of the Mona Lisa was Pablo Picasso, who would become the most famous painter of the 20th century. And I thought, there's got to be a story in here that I could work with. It's just irresistible. So I thought about it. I couldn't really come up with anything. And I talked to my friends and I'd say, I got these two ideas and there's got to be a way to put them together. And nobody could help me. And I thought, maybe I should just write it as a nonfiction thing, talk about the theft of the Mona Lisa and Picasso's role and everything. And fortunately, I didn't have to do that because somebody wrote that book. A guy named Nicholas Day, he wrote a book called The Mona Lisa Vanishes a couple of years ago. So he did that. So I still had this idea and I thought, gee, how can I turn this into a fictional story? And I thought, couldn't come up with anything. I put it on the back burner for a while. And then one day, I was reading an article in the paper about some guy in Pennsylvania who bought a painting at a flea market. And he brought it home. And when he brought it home, he discovered that behind the painting was a copy of the Declaration of Independence. And he sold that thing for like $4 million. And I thought, that's it. I've got it. It's the perfect what if, all my stories are like what if stories. What if when Picasso was brought in for questioning for the theft of the Mona Lisa, and he was brought in for questioning, what if, and he was a very prolific artist, he was always had a sketchbook with him. What if he drew a little doodle, a sketch in his sketchbook? And after he didn't steal the Mona Lisa, after they let him go, what if he just threw that sketch into a garbage can? And what if, over 100 years later, that sketch somehow found its way to Illinois, where some kid buys a poster at a flea market, for $10, brings it home, takes this cheap frame off of the poster, and a piece of paper slides out, and it's it's the Picasso sketch that he made when he was being questioned for the Mona Lisa. That was the germ of the idea. And I thought, what are all the positive and mostly negative things that would happen to somebody who was in that situation? And that was how I got the idea for the Picasso Curse.
I remember our first conversation. You were telling me that your books start off with that what if, asking that what if.
What if?
I think that's a great tool and a great way to find stories.
Yeah.
As you're telling me this story, how the story came to you, it's obvious that you just feel so passionate about it and about how it sprang into your mind.
It was so exciting to be having this idea in my head for so long and not being able to really put it together. And finally, a spark lights and it's like a switch goes off and you say, oh, this is how I can do it. And that's really exciting when that happens. It's so rare that that happens.
Right, right. So you get this idea. You go down to put fingers to keyboards, I guess, not pen to paper anymore. Who are we going to meet in this book?
Well, I did a lot of research. Of course, first about Picasso and the theft of the Mona Lisa back in 1911. And I also had to do a lot of research as far as the art market goes, because this kid suddenly finds, and he's a poor kid, by the way, and he suddenly finds himself in the possession of like a priceless piece of artwork. So I had to research like how much a Picasso sketch could be worth, these days, how you would go about selling it and all this kind of stuff. And, when something like this happens, you've probably heard of like people who win the lottery, and instead of it making their lives wonderful, they can't deal with the situation, and it turns out to ruin their lives sometimes. So I thought, okay, first, the positive things that would happen is suddenly, you're rich, you're famous, people are making TikTok videos about you, people are inviting you to parties, and stuff like that. But then I started to think of all the negative things that would happen. People would be jealous. People would maybe try and steal the Picasso or steal your money. People would accuse you of faking it, or having stolen it yourself. People might start following him home or tapping his phone. He might start worrying about his parents and their money situation, and he might worry, oh, my parents are going to get divorced, And little by little, bad things start happening to this kid, and he starts to think, hey, maybe I'm cursed. Maybe it's the Picasso curse. And Jed, there's no such thing as a Picasso curse, but while he lived to be like 91 years old and was productive his whole life, just about everybody associated with Pablo Picasso died tragically. Okay. His girlfriends committed suicide. They had nervous breakdowns. His wife shot herself. His grandson died from drinking bleach. All these horrible things happened to everybody associated with Picasso. And I figured this kid is going to think he's cursed too, And so things get worse and worse. He can't sleep at night, and, have you finished the book yet, Jed? Because I don't want to tell you the surprise ending, or I don't want to tell
that's fine.
Your listeners the surprise ending, but I'm really big about surprise endings. I don't like a story where I can predict the ending in the first few pages, I always try and surprise the reader. And I think in this one, I'm going to really knock their socks off. Okay.
Well, I love it. One of the things that we do here on Reading with Your Kids, of course, is encourage families to read together. And that includes continuing to read with our kids as they become independent readers, or co-read with your kids. And the Picasso Curse sounds like a perfect book to co-read with your kids and talk about at dinner or on the way to soccer or ballet, because it touches on that dream. Nowadays, I think more than ever, kids are dreaming about becoming famous, becoming the influencer, becoming the star, athlete or movie star. I remember sitting down when my daughter used to come out and perform with me. One of her friends, she asked if she could come and do a duet on a tour of my show. And I said, sure. And we're working with a coach, and the girls did really well. And at the end of the rehearsal, my daughter's friend turned to the coach and who was giving them praise. And she said, oh, do you think we're good enough to become famous? And me and the coach just looked at each other, and we were so sad because this kid wasn't interested in the art and the performance. It was just, gee, is this a way that's going to get me famous? And boy, kid, you have no idea what you're wishing for.
That is really sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think, when we were growing up, I don't recall wanting to be famous. I wanted to be good. Maybe it would be nice to be like the best in the world at something, but I never figured I would be. But fame, even today, I wouldn't want to be one of those writers who people accost you in restaurants for autographs or follow you down the street. I just want to, do the best job I could possibly do and create a story that is so compelling that a kid might, open up one of my books and like an hour later look up and think, wow, that didn't even feel like I was reading. That was so effortless. I felt like I was watching a movie in my head.
Yeah.
That's all I want to accomplish in life. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Fame, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you certainly have done that, but, and that's why I think this is a great book, just to sit down and start having those conversations about what do you want? I was on tour myself and heard something on the radio, or read something somewhere where it said that they just did a study, and that kids who have a dream for their future are healthier and they do better in school. And I thought, well, what a dumb study to do. 'Cause everybody has a dream. I mean, what are you talking about? And so I thought, I'll do an experiment. And so that week, every time I was in front of an audience in the school, I'd ask, how many kids have a dream? How many kids hope that you grow up to become this or that? And at every school, there was only about 40% of the kids that raised their hands.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I'm not smart enough to follow up on my studies. It's just,
Yeah.
but it just, I think it's important for us as parents to sit down and talk to our kids about their dreams and talk to them about, okay, that's your dream. How are you going to get there? You and I were talking about the fact that our kids are doing well and they're successful, and despite all the challenges. And and I'm sure that you, just like I, had many of those conversations. What do you want to do? Why do you want to, do that? How are you going to get there? How, it's just not going to happen. So I think that the Picasso's Curse might be if parents haven't already started those conversations, it would be a perfect time to start those.
Yeah. One of the things that I was working on the book, and I was almost finished with it, and I realized a theme that hadn't occurred to me in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And the theme was that this kid, and I think all kids actually, have to deal with what is called decision anxiety, which is, you're all of us have decisions in life, some more important than others. And making decisions is hard. And sometimes we become paralyzed. And like this kid, bad things are happening to him, and he's thinking, okay, should I hold on to this thing? Should I sell it? Should I give it away? Should I donate it to a museum? Should I destroy it? I don't know what to do. And he's like losing sleep at night over it. Thinks he's going to have a nervous breakdown over it, and I think I'm suspecting that kids today probably have more decision anxiety than maybe you and I had when we were growing up. I mean, I don't recall having to deal with these kind of things growing up. I was dealing with, when I was going to go play baseball next or whatever, But I think, with everybody having cell phones and being bombarded with information all the time, I think it's tougher to grow up these days. And I think maybe parents and kids might relate to the decision anxiety that my main character faces in this story.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about you, Dan. Did anybody in your class ever have anxiety? I probably worried about stuff, but I never heard it.
I suppose they did. We didn't really talk about things. I mean, hey, when I grew up, my parents split up when I was 12 years old, and my father just abandoned the family. And that was pretty traumatic. But I somehow got past it. I became the man of the house, and I just kind of dealt with the situation. But, and these days, parents splitting up is much more common than it was when I was a kid, of course. So I don't know. It's a tough world to grow up in today. And I'm glad my kids are older.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
I don't have to go through it again, and they don't either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amen. I've said many times on this podcast, I am really glad things like social media didn't exist when I was a kid, because boy, there'd be a treasure trove for somebody to go back and point out all the dumb things that I did as a kid.
Yeah. In some ways, we're lucky we're old, Jed.
Indeed.
But
when I get up out of this,
some wisdom too.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, Dan, I got to tell you, I had an experience with a curse.
What was it?
Oh, Tutankhamun's curse.
How so?
I don't know if you remember that, the Tutankhamun's relics or whatever, they toured the United States back 20, 30 years ago, something, more than 30 years ago.
I do remember, yes.
Well, I'm a very tactile person, and it said that all these things had a curse on them and everything. And I went up at the Museum of Fine Arts here in Boston and touched one of the statues with my hand, with this hand, and got it down. I didn't get caught, but 2 weeks later, I have an infection in this hand. There's no, I didn't get a cut that got infected or anything else. Ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. Doctors had no idea what was going on. They were pumping me with all sorts of antibiotics and everything. Finally, it broke. And I said to I remember the doctor, Dr. Fitzgerald, and after he talked about this strange case to all the medical students he was teaching, I called him back after the students left and go, "Yo, Doc, come here. This happened. What do you think?" And he's like, "You think you get cursed and got infected?" I go, "I don't know." He goes, "Okay, it's fine with me. I have no other reason to, no other ideas. So yeah, we'll mark it down to Tutankhamun."
I've heard of that curse, actually. Didn't a bunch of the people who were involved in excavating the tomb, didn't they die young or something like that? All of them?
Yep.
I was actually
had a little infection.
Wow. I was actually really lucky. Years ago, I was invited to visit a school in Egypt. Yeah, and I went. I brought my son along. He was in third grade at the time, and we got to go to the Cairo Museum, and I got to see all the treasures of King Tut when we were there. That was really cool. I remember the mummy room. Yeah, the mummy room. You had to pay a separate admission just to get into the mummy room, and we thought, it was going to be like in the cartoons where they're like wrapped up in, gauze or whatever it is, and you get to the mummy room and like. These were like unwrapped mummies, and it was like looking at meat in a freezer section of a supermarket. And my son had to go sit in the corner for a while because he freaked out. Wow. So is your hand all better now?
Hand's all better right now. Yep. Thank goodness.
You survived the King Tut curse.
I did survive. I didn't become famous or anything like that. So.
Wow. Interesting.
Tell me, you've written so many books over the years. What keeps you going? There's a love that's powering this imagination of yours, this quest to ask what if.
Yeah. What keeps me going? I'll tell you, probably more than anything else, like just about every day, I get an email from a parent or a teacher or a librarian telling me my son, my daughter, my student hated to read, wouldn't pick up a book. And then they picked up one of your books, and now all they want to do is read your books. And they were under the covers with a flashlight last night, past bedtime, reading your book. And it just makes me feel so good. I didn't get into this to save the world, Jed. I just got into it because I had a knack for communicating and writing, and I have the brain of an 8-year-old. So, but the fact that I could just write some silly words on a page that can have such a positive impact on a kid's life is so rewarding. And I think that's what keeps me going.
Yeah. So with that information that you have the mind of an 8-year-old, can I guess that maybe that twist at the end of Picasso's Curse has like a fart involved in it somehow?
It does not.
Oh, okay.
It does not, Jed. I will tell you that. It's I can't give any hint. I'm going to think of a hint I can give you, but I'll tell you this. The ending to a story, I feel like it doesn't have to be a happy ending. It doesn't have to be a sad ending. It just has to be satisfying in some way. And I think that after people finish the book, I think they're going to think, I should have predicted that was going to happen, because that's the most logical way to end this story. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, oh, by the way, I should probably mention that the guy, like, even though Picasso did not steal the Mona Lisa, the guy who did steal it, his name was Vincenzo Perugia. He was an Italian, and everyone was wondering, what was the motivation for stealing the Mona Lisa to begin with? You couldn't sell it, and his motivation was that he resented the fact that the Mona Lisa was in France. It was painted, Leonardo was Italian. It was painted in Italy. He wanted to steal it and bring it back to Italy. That was his motivation. And he got caught. And, the guy only did 7 months in prison, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, Jed, he died on his 44th birthday. So I think maybe he suffered from the Picasso curse as well.
You get the curse. Absolutely. Wow. Hey, what was the latest what if that you asked yourself and started writing about?
What if? Oh, okay. I got one. I haven't gotten a publisher for this one yet, but, what if there was a typewriter? Okay. And I know typewriter is an obsolete technology, but I'm fascinated by them. What if there was a typewriter that was you could type on it and you could communicate with famous people in the past? You could basically send a text through time with your typewriter, and the typewriter would type like a player piano sort of.
Uh-huh.
That's my what if.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm working on it now, and hopefully maybe next year we can talk about that one.
You have an open invitation anytime to come back and talk about whatever what if is banging around in your mind.
I figure, I like to take an ordinary kid and put the kid into an extraordinary situation. I figure kids like to read stories like that because they can imagine themselves in that situation.
Yeah. I think that's one of the great powers of reading is giving kids that opportunity to think, what would I do in that situation?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head, Jed.
Bang, right there. We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the Picasso Curse and find out more about all the great books that ever come from your what ifs.
Oh, well, I should say, I don't know when this is going to drop, but the book drops on September 2nd. Okay. 2 weeks from today, from when we're recording. It should be available in any good bookstore or online seller. And people can find out more about me if they go to my website, just www.dangutman.com, or follow me on Facebook, Instagram at Dan Gutman Books, and Blue Sky as well.
Yeah. And if people go to their local bookstore and they don't find the book, don't just walk out. Help that store become a good bookstore and ask them to bring it in.
And almost all of them will order the book for you. Yeah,
absolutely.
They're great.
We've had a great time talking to the author of the Picasso Curse. Our guest has been Dan Gutman. Hey, Dan, thanks for being back on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you, Jed, and thanks for the good work that you do.
Hey, real quick, we want to let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Zivo Life. ZIVO.life. Zivo Life. Hey, parents, caregivers, and book lovers, ever wish you had a little bit more zip in your step when you're reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar for the 5th or the 50th time today? Say hello to Zivo Life, your new best friend in daily wellness. Zivo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant loaded with 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, antioxidants, and so much more. It's a powerhouse in just 1 teaspoon a day, and yes, is giving people more energy, better gut health, and even healthier skin and hair. If you want to feel more energized, focused, and vibrant during your next animated storytime performance, Zivo Life might just be your secret weapon. Visit zivo.life, ZIVO.life, and use the promo code READ to get 30% off your order. It comes with a 30-day risk-free guarantee, and you've got nothing to lose except your sluggishness. Go now to zivo.life and use the promo code READ and save 30%. Hey, my friends, I have a super idea you are going to love. How about this weekend, turn your backyard cookout into a storybook celebration. Fire up the grill, crack open a few of your favorite picture books, and serve up Big Fork Brand's legendary bacon sausage. Made with nitrate-free bacon and premium pork, it's juicy, smoky, and unforgettable. Top it off with Big Fork's spicy Chicago fire sauce, and you've got a meal as bold as the characters in your favorite bedtime tale. Get 20% off your order using the promo code READ at bigforkbrands.com. That's bigforkbrands.com, promo code READ to get 20% off. Because nothing brings families together like great food, great books, and a whole lot of flavor. Big Fork Brands. Read, grill, repeat. Join us right now from Los Angeles in California. Our guest is here today to celebrate. Her new picture book is called Tic Tac Toe Chicken. Please welcome to the show, Kimberly Tso. Kimberly, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jed. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I am so curious to find out about this tic-tac-toe playing chicken.
Yeah, it's kind of a novelty, isn't it? The real tic-tac-toe chicken, or I should say, the chicken is a real chicken that was trained to play tic-tac-toe. And it's been used in state fairs in different places, but the most famous one, I think, really was in Chinatown, New York City, because it lived in a video game arcade in a booth there and played against customers that would come in trying to win against the chicken. And I've written a book about it and about the rescue of that chicken.
Wow. Now, were there other chickens that learned how to play tic-tac-toe, or is this a unique bird?
It's unique in the sense that there aren't that many chickens that are trained to do it. But there are more than one. From the research I've done, I think that the chicken probably first came to the Chinatown Fair arcade sometime in the maybe late 50s or early 60s. My parents remember it as a child, as children. And so, that would put it in about that time frame. But I don't think when the store opened at first in the 1940s that it was there. And then I have seen some videos from state fairs across the country, of, people playing against, a tic-tac-toe chicken, a trained chicken as well. But the one in Chinatown, people came from all over, to come and see this chicken and to play against the chicken. So Chinatown Fair is well known for that chicken.
And how did the chicken do? I mean, was it usually winning?
Always, almost always won, sometimes tied. And mostly because it had a lot of help. It was a trained chicken. And so it had help as to what moves it would make. And it would always go first, which is a huge advantage when you play tic-tac-toe.
So I'm imagining you must have heard stories from your parents as a little girl about this incredible chicken. Is that what inspired you to write the story? My parents did introduce me to it when I was young. My father in particular lived in Chinatown when I was young. And so when we were together, I'm sure that he took me. So I don't have a specific memory of it when I was really little. But as an adult, I did go back into Chinatown and I played as an adult against the chicken. It took my husband there too, so he certainly remembers it. The chicken wasn't rescued and the booth didn't retire until 1998. So it was there for a long time. Of course, it wasn't the same chicken. Right.
Yes, but, cause chickens don't live 40 years. But yes, I do have some memories of it, and that was one of the things that inspired me to write about it.
I'm guessing you didn't beat the chicken.
Oh, of course not. No, lost every time. Every time. Yes. So when the question comes, like, are you smarter than a chicken? Apparently not. Not when I'm playing tic-tac-toe anyway.
Now, you said in your notes, you said that this was a fictionalized story of the real life chicken. Tell us about the story and what chicken we're going to meet.
Yeah. So the chicken featured in the story is Lily, who is the last of the chickens in Chinatown Fair Arcade. And Lily, in real life, was rescued by animal activists who convinced the owner to give them the chicken to take to a farm for rescued animals. But in my story, one of the things that I was wondering was, in today's day and age, I wondered if for me, looking back on it, if I had nostalgia for it, that was kind of coloring what a child's response really would be to seeing a chicken caged in a dark video game arcade with lots of sounds and lights and things like that. And wondering how a child would feel about that. Because I sometimes feel like children see things in a more clear-eyed way than adults do. And so that inspired me to wonder how might a child respond to seeing this chicken, the kind of empathy that they might have for it, and what they might do to solve the problem, what they might do to rescue the chicken. And so this is the story that emerged from that series of what ifs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, certainly I get caught up in the whole idea of a chicken learning how to play Tic Tac Toe and what an amazing thing that is. And it kind of blinded me to the reality that this isn't what chickens were meant to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, I think that's part of the struggle and the tension, even within the book is like, it's a super interesting idea. And even the title probably will get people to buy the book. Like, oh, what is this about? That sounds really cute and curious and fun and interesting because it's novel. It's different. But I do feel like when you see it through the eyes of Beatrice, the little girl in the story, you start to wonder, like, is this really the right thing? Is this the best thing for the chicken? And does that matter? And should we care?
I'm curious, did you start out with the intention of writing about the rescue of Lily, or did Beatrice kind of help shape the way you were looking at the situation?
That's a great question. I think it's definitely the latter. When I first started it, I really thought about it in terms of that novelty and how much fun it would be to write a story about the chicken, and in particular, sort of early drafts were from Lily's perspective, right? And but not in a way that she felt like she was being mistreated, because I don't necessarily think that she was being intentionally mistreated by the shopkeepers, but just sort of her perspective. And then after a while, I started to realize that looking at it through Beatrice's eyes, I needed to approach the story quite differently. And I wanted to explore what that looked like. And so I did. And this was the story that emerged.
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the things that we encourage families to do is to kind of look at the world from your kids' perspective. Try to do that. And I suggest that because it's a way to share in the awe that kids are experiencing every day, because they're things that we've seen forever and have grown accustomed to, they're seeing for the first time. It's like, wow, let's get back into that. But kids can really help us see, more important questions in a very different way. I remember having a discussion about the death penalty with my daughter. It had come up in her school, and she was in middle school, I think. And I was of the opinion, like, well, if you do something really bad, maybe, that's an appropriate penalty. But in talking to my daughter, I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. I think probably this isn't a good idea. We probably shouldn't do this.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, those kinds of changes in perspective are really helpful, and helpful for us as grown-ups to model for kids that we can change our minds, and that we can be influenced by their ideas and their opinions and their convictions, in particular. Yeah.
We talk about how empowering it is when we ask our kids their opinion. You know, here it is, this, the most important person in my life is asking my opinion is interesting. Imagine how much more empowering it is when we listen and they change our minds.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's, that's a wonderful part of being a parent, is being open. And what a great thing to model for kids, because we certainly aren't seeing a lot of people looking at things from different perspectives in the media these days.
That's right. That's right. We need all the help we can get to approach things with an open mind. And so if it's our love for our children and our respect for our children, then that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah. When did you know that you wanted to write for kids?
You know what? That was not something I knew until I was well into the process of doing it. I had actually been feeling a little bit burnt out in the paid work that I do as a grant writer for nonprofit groups, and so I had been making a lot of art and enjoying that. And so had thought for a little while, like, oh, it might be really fun to illustrate a children's book. So I joined SCBWI, and I thought, let me take some classes, maybe learn. But along the way, I realized that I wanted to have more practice illustrating stories, but I didn't know, I was getting kind of tired of like the fairy tale kinds of stuff. And I was like, what can I do? And so I started to write my own. And as it turned out, I'm a better writer, I think, than I am illustrator. Illustrators, they are amazing at their craft. They spend years and years and years honing it. And I have so much respect for what they do. And I am happy to write and let other people illustrate my books, use their talents to do it. Now that I have a better idea, but yeah, so this is one of the stories that I wrote thinking that I would illustrate it one day. But I am so pleased that I have the illustrator, worked on Tic Tac Toe Chicken. His name is Louis Chin. He's an amazing illustrator, and watercolor art. So all of this was analog. It's not digital. I think some of the touch-ups were done digitally, but he has his paintings that he did for this, and he is from Chinatown and in New York City, and knew about the Tic Tac Toe Chicken, and so we had a connection there through the story, and he's just created some beautiful scenes of Chinatown for this book.
Yeah. So no hesitancy letting somebody else tell part of the story.
No, I think that's one of the things that benefited me having been a grant writer for so many years, was that I was used to collaborative writing.
Mm-hmm.
And so edits, I've been being edited by other people for 20 plus years. And even, looking for agents and things like that. I've been having rejection letters come my way for a long time. And so some of that was really, I wouldn't say that like I was good at it necessarily at receiving rejection, but it didn't faze me in the way that it could for some folks that aren't used to getting that, and it weighs them down. I could keep going.
Uh-huh. I can, having been part of a team that has written a number of grants in the past, I can understand you getting burnt out doing that real quick.
Yes. And honestly, one of the great gifts that I've received from putting together this book and working with Third State Books, the publisher, and with Louis, the illustrator, has been that it has really renewed my sense of purpose in my grant writing work as well, and sort of kind of breathed new life into it. And so it's all been a really wonderful journey, and to see how these two things sort of play off each other and balance each other out and support each other.
Yeah. I imagine there's people who are listening who've heard the term Chinatown before, but they don't live in or near a big city like Boston or New York or Los Angeles. Can you talk a little bit about the unique flavor of a Chinatown?
Yeah, sure. Chinatowns are, of course, an ethnic enclave. There are many different types of ethnic enclaves. Some of them have been like Little Italy, or Greek Town, or in Los Angeles we also have Little Armenia and places like that. And so a concentration of that population will come together, and stores that provide things like culturally specific foods and grocery items and clothing and things that might be more familiar to people who have recently immigrated to the United States, or in other countries. There are also Chinatowns in other countries as well, right? So Chinatown has that kind of flavor, in the sense of there are places to eat, and shops to go to that you might not normally see in your typical American mall, or storefronts and things like that. Many of the things are from the originating countries, but more and more, as we have multiple generations of Asian Americans, Chinese Americans, and other kinds of groups, we take that and really creatively build upon it and morph it, and it kind of becomes its own thing. And so like, if you go to, maybe some of your listeners will have heard of boba or bubble tea.
Uh-huh.
And so if you go to Chinatown, there are lots of bubble tea shops or boba shops, and they're all actually really quite different. Some of them, use real fruit. Some of them flavor with syrups. Some of them have more traditional Chinese teas. Some of them don't. Some of them have food items. Some of them don't. I mean, it's a real mix of different things, and that's because one of the great things about Chinatowns and any ethnic enclave is that sort of really creative energy that comes from people encountering new things and mixing it with the things that are familiar to them and creating something wholly originally American.
Yeah. I love that idea. And, boy, when I met and married my beautiful wife, whose family is originally from Puerto Rico, boy, it opened the world, just a whole different world to me. New foods, new languages, new bad words I could say. What else are you working on right now, Kim? Do you have a book in the works?
I've got some more picture book manuscripts and a lower middle grade piece that working on getting published. And then I also, back in November, wrote for NaNoWriMo, which is the National Novel Writing Month, where you write a novel in a month, that challenge. They have it every year. I participated in that. And so that manuscript in particular, I need to get back to and start editing. So yeah. And that one, I was drawing some more on the history of paper suns, which was a time in American history when the Chinese exclusion laws were in effect, say late 1800s through the 1950s, and Chinese people were explicitly excluded from the United States of America from becoming U.S. citizens. Mm-hmm. So one of the ways that some people got around that was to create what they called paper suns, so that if a Chinese person did have citizenship here in the United States, that they would create papers that said that they had more children, usually sons, in China, and then be able to bring them over into the United States. And that was a common practice in the late 1800s and early 1900s. So it's a novel that incorporates some of that history.
Fascinating. Well, I definitely hope that book comes out so we can all experience it and learn from it.
Thank you.
Tell everybody, please, where they can go to find out more about Tic Tac Toe Chicken and find out more about you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes. Well, you can go to my website, which I think you'll probably have in show notes. It's KimberlyTso.com, which is spelled KimberlyTso.com. And I have like all the options for where you can order the book from, or you can look it up for yourself in Amazon, Barnes and Noble, bookshop.org, or request it from your local indie shop, if that's what you prefer.
Yep. And we also encourage folks to go to their public library and request the book there.
Yes, please. Would love to have it in public libraries so that more and more people can enjoy the book.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Tic Tac Toe Chicken. It's a new picture book from our guest, Kimberly Tso. Hey, Kimberly, thanks for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you so much, Jed.
That's it for today's chapter of Reading with Your Kids. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. If this episode made you smile or made you think, please share it with your family and friends. Leave a 5-star review and smash that subscribe button. We also want you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram, and @JedleyMagic on X. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Kimberly Tso. Please be sure to check out Tic Tac Toe Chicken. And we want to thank Dan Gutman for being here to celebrate his new middle grade novel, The Princess Curse. We want to thank our sponsors, BigForkBrands.com, Zevo.life, and CozyEarth.com. Use our promo code READ, R-E-A-D, and save big and help the podcast. Also want to thank our team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, El Glassman, Dante Greco. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Remember, reading together is the real magic that connects us, one story at a time. Until next time, keep turning those pages and sharing those smiles.